Hi, everybody. It's Tamir Goodman. I am so glad to be able to spend time with everybody today and also introduce you to my dear friend, Eddy Curry. I remember once during practice when I was playing for Coach David Blatt, who ended up coaching the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA. He one time shouted out in basketball, he said, basketball is 90% mental, 10% physical. So coming from the basketball space, we focus a lot on mental toughness and mental health. And we're so grateful today that we could learn from a very, very special person and player, Eddy Curry. Eddy and Patrice, his dear wife, were in Israel this summer, and we got to spend some great time and to get really close. So Eddy, Amudim is an unbelievable organization that works around the clock, serving thousands of people, helping them with any mental health challenges that they may encounter, regardless of who they are, what time of day it is. They're always there for them. So thank you for your time, and hopefully being able to share your expertise and knowledge with people that we could all gain from it. So thank you so much, Eddy. We're glad to have you.
No, thanks for having me. What an incredible cause, just an incredible platform that you guys have. I've never heard of anything so good, honestly. You see little blurbs here and there when you watching TV or when you're looking at something on social media that they think might trigger something, and they're like, okay, if you have a problem, dial this number. But I think what you guys are doing is much more just active and much more just being able to reach out to someone 24/7, man, and just no matter who you are and what you got going on, man. I think that's so crucial, because I mean, mental health doesn't come with like a schedule. You never know when something might grab you and something might just take over your mind and things might get kind of dark for you. So I think that the fact that you guys are always available, the fact that this type of engagement is able to take place, man, I think that's incredible. And I'm just proud and happy to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. And we're glad to be able to spend some time with you. Eddy, it's almost impossible to make it to the NBA. It's like less than 1% of the people in the world. And you have had such an incredible journey. Can we start off where you share a little bit about, your early days of basketball and maybe some of the mental challenges that you may have had to go through at such a young age, because already in high school, you were world famous. Yeah. Everybody, I remember going to NBA camp and everybody there was talking about you, and right. Just at such a young age. Maybe talk to us a little bit about your basketball background and early on, like mentally, how hard was that, going from high school straight to the NBA?
Yeah, for me, I think going from high school to the NBA, I think around the time NBA camp happened, I think a lot of the hard stuff, the mental stuff kind of was already, I was so focused on basketball, I really wasn't even paying attention to the mental part. I think all of the mental stuff happened before that, and then while I was in the NBA. During that brief time that you saw me, I was kind of on cruise control, and I was kind of caught up in I want to be the best, and I want to do this and do that. And I started to actually see the fruits of my labor. I started to see, the payoff from carrying my basketball around as a kid everywhere I went. Choosing to not join a gang when all of the gang members were getting together and doing knucklehead stuff. I started to see the payoff of, missing birthdays and missing certain holidays because I got basketball tournaments and this and that. But as a child, I didn't understand that. As a kid, you think instant gratification. You think, hey, my birthday's coming up, I get a gift. Christmas is here, I get a gift. If I do good, Mom, can I get some shoes? I didn't have those type of parents where I had the best of everything. I was always taller than everybody. So now I was a super tall kid at school. I didn't have good clothes, didn't have good shoes. And I went to a school, I lived in the neighborhood where those type of things mattered to the kids that were around. You would get labeled as being a bum or being labeled as being just an uncool person because you didn't have what everyone else had. So on top of not having everything that everyone had, I mean, I would go to school, so I would just try to disappear, so much so that I found myself walking like almost hunched over. I was trying to be the same size as everybody else. And I'm head and shoulders above everyone. You know, by 5th or 6th grade, I was taller than all of the teachers. I was taller than all of the students. And I'm the biggest kid in school, and I'm walking like a hunchback because I really don't want to stand out. To the point where even when, you know, by the time 7th grade, 6th, 7th grade rolled around, I got to middle school, I didn't even want to play basketball. I'm like, no, it's just too much. It was too much for me. And thank God I had the kind of parents that were like, no, you're going to play basketball, you know, you're going to find something to do. Because they saw, of course, they didn't look at it as like, oh, this is going to get you to the NBA. Because like you said, man, that's like so far fetched. That's so far out of like, that's like, okay, I'm going to go play the lottery one time and hit the lottery. It's like that. And it's like for them, for my parents, it was more so just, I want you to start feeling like normal. I want you to walk around and be able to, you know, hold your shoulders, hold your head high, because you're around other tall people and you start to see that it's not just you out here, and you can be in an environment that people actually praise you. So I think that's where it all started for me. I think that my parents did a great job at paying attention to like kind of my feelings and what was going on when it came to just my self-esteem. They knew that they couldn't do a lot for me in terms of, mom, I just want this or that. But when it came to, I guess, just having a pulse on my feelings and emotions, for the most part, my parents were really, you know, spot on with it. Now they had their own issues. My dad and my mom, you know, they would go back and forth. They would fight and argue and things like that. But in terms of just me, I think they did all they could to make sure that myself and my sister mentally, you know, were in a good place. And I always appreciated them for that, because man, I understand growing up, as I got older, I realized, you know, where I was from, a lot of kids didn't have two parents in the household. You know, so both my parents coming to parent teacher conference, or both my parents coming to the game, like that was a foreign thing. Most times you only saw the single mother, or you only saw a dad. You know, it was pretty cool, and it was pretty impactful for me to have both my parents. So much so that when I look at it today, that's been my main focus throughout everything, is keeping my family together. As I went through my trials and tribulations, as I've done, you know, as I've done like you know, self-destructive things in my relationship, things that would have ruined other relationships. That's why I'm so close to my wife now, because I realized she could have been gone, man. And everything that was so crucial and pivotal to me growing up, I could have taken that away from my kids. And so I always praise her and I thank her for that. But yeah, man, I mean, we can definitely get into it. I mean, it's a lot of, you know, being a kid, man, it's tough, because a lot of times you spend your time just like wanting people to take your pain serious. And I think a lot of times what I find with my own children is, everything they're going through, listen, I believe you. I believe you are feeling that. But let me try to help you work through it. Let me try to tell you what you can do to kind of manage what you got going on, and kind of dictate, try to put you in a place to where you don't have to keep, you know, going through this, because some of what you're going through is self-inflicted. And as a child, they don't know that. They don't realize that by them choosing today to not do a project that's due 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks later, that, you know, 11, 12 days from now, you're going to be hit with some of the craziest pressure that you've ever felt, because now you got a dirty room because you haven't been cleaning your room, you haven't done your project, and now you got to cram and do this project. You slipping behind in other classes, and you trying to still put on this facade to us, the parents, as like everything is okay and I'm on top of everything. And as a kid who put everything off in school, I could tell you, like, that's some of the worst anxiety I've ever felt, going to school, knowing that I haven't like studied for a test, knowing that I haven't done a project, waking up that morning, like that's crazy. Now you add that to all the other things that we have going on today with social media, and how important image is to kids, and it's compounded, and it makes it even crazier. So at this point, I've always been the person. Even I talked to my wife about it. Like, look, we got to take them serious. If they say they're hurting, we got to believe them, because they're hurting. They are hurting. Now, if we look at that problem and compare it to us, that it's not like the problems we have, where it's like, okay, how are we going to pay these bills? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? But believe me, it's still affecting them the same way. They're still feeling the same anxiety. They're still feeling the same things. And I think that a lot of kids, man, like I said, they don't have those type of parents that understand that what they're dealing with is a real thing. It's a real pain. It's a real uncomfortable feeling. And a lot of times kids try to unfortunately take the easy way out and say, you know what, I'll do harm to myself, or I'll do enough things to where maybe I'll do this and they'll see that I'm for real. They'll see that I'm really feeling something. And that's just what I try to avoid with my kids. And luckily for me, like I said, I had basketball. Things did start getting better for me in basketball. As I saw, the more I poured in basketball, the more positive things happen. I started getting free shoes. I started getting free Nike gear. I started being able to dress a lot better. And honestly, at that point, I didn't even care about dress no more because I was so good at basketball. It didn't matter what I wore. It was like, you know, it was different. It was a certain confidence that basketball, that sports gave me, that I didn't need the physical things. I already had the physical gifts. I didn't need the clothes to go with it.
Yeah, and yeah, you know, your heart is one of a kind, and the compassion you share for your kids and your family is just so amazing, and I'm always just so amazed by your generosity and your care. And you know, we've also spent some time, you know, for Eddie's like for those of you watching, he's like 7 foot. Well, he's over 7 feet, 7'1", and you know, it is, you know, people don't realize it, but it is very harmful. It's like everywhere we go together, everyone always comments not on you as a person or your feelings or your emotions. They just comment on your height right away. They could have negative reactions or different facial reactions when they see you, and you know, it's very it's not always so welcoming. And you know, you mentioned as a kid you were purposely hunching over, and so how did you gather yourself at such a young age to say, like, I'm going to stop hunching over and pick myself up and pursue basketball? You know, like, how did you get that strength? Was it inner strength? You mentioned your parents. Did you meet a good coach? Did you just start feeling good on the court? Like, how can what advice can you share for someone that might be going through something similar, where they have a hidden blessing but
Mm.
they feel a little stuck, or there's other circumstances that may be holding them back from pursuing it? You know, how can they jump over that fence?
Um, for me, I surrounded myself with like-minded people. I surrounded myself with the basketball crowd. I surrounded myself with kids that were trying to do the same thing I was doing. They wanted to try to find a gym. They wanted to try to find a hoop. I became, all my friends were basketball players. I didn't gravitate toward the other crowd because I'm like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I was focused. It started, like I said, my mom and my dad definitely pointed me at basketball. They're like, look, okay, cool. You're tall. Your middle school has a basketball team. You know, let's do that. And then a lot of my basketball friends, when school started, it was like, it became like, okay, let's everybody, we're gonna try out for the team, and we're gonna try and make the team, and we're gonna try to, you know, keep this team together from now and all the way through high school, and then we're gonna all go to the league together. So it became like a group mentality, almost like everyone just kind of had the same goal. Everyone had the same goal to try to make it. But it began with, like I said, my parents pointing me in one direction, and also just having like-minded friends. Um, of course, the fast life seemed more attractive to me at the time. They had a little money and they had that family feel to them. I didn't spend a lot of time with my parents growing up because my mom worked 24 hours a day almost, and my dad, he drove trucks all across the country. A lot of times it was just myself and my sister. But my dad was always really, my dad and my dad's side of the family, like his mom, my grandmother, they were really religious. Everything was church. I spent a lot of time in church, spent a lot of time in Sunday school, spent a lot of time praying. My mom only really listened to gospel music, and so we had a very, like, I mean, I had a really good mix, I think, of religion and real life, and also, like I said, my mom and dad were always there for me when I needed them, and they paid close attention to how I was feeling. I can't say that enough because I do think that if you don't have that person, something like what you guys have would have been great for me, you know, if I didn't have my parents, or something like what you guys have would be great for some of my friends who got lost along the way, who fell between who fell, you know, in the cracks. Because I'm sure other people wanted to do what I did, or other people wanted had a basketball friends, but some of that stuff, some of the darkness, some of the distractions is right in their house. Some of their parents were selling drugs. Some of their sisters and brothers were selling drugs and doing different things. So it was closer to them, and it was harder for them to avoid. For me, I tried to just stay on a straight path. I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't have any corruption in my house. I was lucky, man. I was lucky. I was blessed. And I know for a fact that like God wanted me to pull me. I know for a fact I couldn't have gotten through certain situations without God. I guess there's no way around it. It's just no way around it. You look at even now when I look at how my life is playing out, I just know it's God, because there's no way I couldn't have done this. My parents couldn't have got me through. Once I left the house, it was all on me. Everything that's happened since then, I just been winging it, man. I just been winging it. I've been praying a lot, and I've been just trying to just stay in tune with just really just trying to do the right thing. I just try to move with my heart. I try to do what God would want me to do, and I just pray a lot, and I just hope that I'm doing the right things to make them happy.
Oh yeah, you definitely are. And that was two great pieces of advice. Number one, for everyone who's listening that may be struggling, surround yourself with greatness. Listen, even if you can't, not everyone could be around greatness. Like Eddie was saying, like he found a group of players that were all dream chasing, and they were positive and trying to find the gym and find, maybe not everyone could get that opportunity, but surround yourself by greatness could also mean, listen to positive things, listen to positive podcasts, listen to positive people that are successful, listen to positive music, learn from people that are successful, just surround yourself, put yourself in a situation as much as possible to be around as much greatness as possible. That was such a great piece of advice. And the other piece of advice is faith. Having a strong relationship with God could definitely help us overcome and jump over that bridge like we were talking about earlier. So, you were lucky enough to have an unbelievable high school career, legendary high school career in a legendary area against unbelievable talent. And then, can you talk to us a little bit about draft night, what it was like when they called your name and you got to shake the commissioner's hand, and what training camp was like?
Yeah. Okay. So draft night, man. I ain't gonna lie. Draft night was like, by the time the draft came, I was so caught up in I want to be the best, and I'm number one. I'm the number one player, because like this was before the internet and things like that. So I never met like the other top 10 or whatever players. I would see them in camp, but by the time I would go to camp, I would already know who was who, and my people that were around me would be like, okay, that's who they're saying is number one. That's who they're saying is the best guard. That's who they're saying is okay. Now I know this. Now I know who I got to dominate, right? So I kept that once I had that competitive like fire in me, and I'm like, I want to be the best. Quite naturally, the next step was to try to be the number one pick, right? So I'm like, I got to be the number one pick. At the time, I didn't really care to be the number one pick, because I'm like, I wanted to be the number one pick, but if I wasn't going to be mad, because I didn't necessarily want to go play for MJ. I had a good friendship with MJ at the time. I had known Michael Jordan since like, I don't know, maybe like my sophomore year in high school, freshman year in high school. I've known Michael Jordan. But so I knew his personality didn't quite, like, I didn't like how he talked to me at times. And I'm like, if I played as a teammate of Michael Jordan and I knew how he treated the other, like, I just knew. I mean, you guys saw the documentary probably. So imagine how he would have talked to a 17, 18-year-old kid. Like, come on, man. So I was like, if I go there, that'd be great, because I get to be a number one pick out of high school. Like, that'd be incredible. But if I don't, I really wanted to go to the Clippers, because I was friends with Darius, and I was friends with Q. And I'm like, those are my brothers, man. I played AAU with them. I love the youth and the exuberance that they played with, the fire, the passion. Like, it almost was like when you watch their games, you didn't care if they won or lost. It was just like, it was such a action-packed, just fun thing that they did, man. The style that they played was so different. So I was like, I want to go to the Clippers. But as it turned out, the Clippers drafted Tyson that night. And then my agent came to me and said, okay, now with the third pick, he said the Clippers are going to draft Tyson, so that's out. And I'm sitting there mad. I'm sitting at the table mad, like, man, are you serious, man? Like, come on, man. And so he was like, all right, so you can either go to, he said, you can either go to, the third pick was Memphis Grizzlies. He said, you can go to the Memphis Grizzlies, or you can go to Chicago. It's your choice. They literally left it up to me. It was in between commercial break, and I'm like, I'm not going to Memphis. I just go to Chicago. And I was so mad. I didn't even realize like I'm able to go play for my home team. I was so mad that I wasn't going to the Clippers. I was like, I just go. And I was even more mad because they were going to take Tyson. And I was like, that's my enemy. I can't even believe, you know what I mean? Like they picked my enemy to go where I wanted to go, even though that was his hometown. Later on, I started thinking like, that was so selfish of me. You know what I mean? Because like he's my brother now, and I can't imagine taking that opportunity away from my brother to go play for his home team, like with his mom. God bless her, she passed away, but with his mom and his family and everything, to be able to do what I did. Like I feel bad now to this day just thinking like that, just my mentality. But I was really like, nah, man, I don't care. I need to go there. But anyway, they drafted Tyson with number 2. They drafted Pau Gasol because I passed up, so they got Pau Gasol in Memphis, and then I went to Chicago, and I can remember being in. I remember right after they picked me, I go back to my table, and my agent is like, they're gonna make a trade. They're gonna bring Tyson. They're gonna bring Tyson, and they're gonna send out Elton Brand. I'm like, no way. And I was so happy first because I get to have another high school guy with me, but really I was happy because he didn't get to go to LA. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
I was
Wow.
so like, I was just so angry. I was just, I don't know. I was different. It was different then, man. But when I got backstage though, and I saw Tyson interviewing, he had the LA Clippers hat on. I never forget. I go back there and he's talking to the media. He's got the camera on him. And I see his agent like lean into his ear and tell him something. And he handed him the Chicago Bulls hat and he had to take the Clippers hat off. And I saw the disappointment. I saw the disappointment in his face, and it hurt me so bad to see that. But then I saw him just hit a switch and just be happy that he was going to Chicago. He's like, I was just like, wow, I really learned a lot from that moment. Like, okay, well, I guess you could look at it as a negative, like I'm not going home, but man, I'm still in the NBA. Like,
Right.
but when I looked at it like that, I'm like, wow. And then me and him, we instantly hit it off. We became like best friends right away. I get to Chicago. I had already met Jamal Crawford because I had been to a few Bulls games being in Chicago. They would have me come to the games a lot. I hope I don't get anybody in Chicago in trouble, but I would go to I would go to the games a lot. I got to meet Jamal Crawford early on. So when I got there, it was like, finally, my brother, I'm here. And he's like, man. So I mean, that was an incredible experience. Yeah, getting drafted kind of just really, it was so, I knew I was going to get drafted. I knew I was going to be a top pick. I only worked out for like 3 or 4 teams going into the draft, and I really could have worked out for none of them, but I really wanted to try to be the number 1 pick. So I worked out for the Wizards, I worked out for the Bulls, and I worked out for the Atlanta Hawks. I think they had like the 5th or so pick because they were like, worst case scenario, you'll go here. So let's just go work out for them just to make sure. But so I really honestly went in there with no pressure. I just really wanted to go to the Clippers, man, honestly. But once I actually left New York and went back to Chicago, I was like, okay, I like this. I like this. I like the feel of being a hometown kid. They were okay. The city embraced us. They knew that we weren't gonna win right away. Not like MJ had just won there. And they still came out and they still supported and they still treated us like royalty in Chicago. And to this day, like anywhere in Chicago I go, I don't really pay for meals. I don't. It's just so dangerous there. I kind of don't go as much as I really would want to, just because it's just so dangerous there. I wish I could really help my city more, but yeah, man. Back then though, I mean, I had an incredible time in Chicago on the court for sure.
Yeah. So thank you. And that was another great piece of advice we learned for anyone that's struggling, that we learned from Tyson Chandler when, that story about switching the hats. He's like, I just lost a lot, but, I'm going to focus on what I can control and what I do have instead of what I don't have and what I can't control. And he made the best of the situation and ended up having a great career. You ended
Absolutely.
up playing in the NBA for over 10 years, which is unbelievable. Ended up winning a championship with the Miami Heat and LeBron James. What's like 3 moments from your NBA career, positive moments that you think of when you think about your career? That the first top 3 things that come to mind when you think about like cool things that happened on the court while you were playing. 3 positive moments
On the court?
on the court. Yeah.
On the court. Man, I would have to put it all meeting the players that like I idolize, meeting the players that just look magical to me. Allen Iverson, Vince Carter, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. Walking up to those guys, man, and for them to call you by your name is like, how do you know my name? You know, you still in this like, how do you know
Right.
me, bro? Like, you know, I remember the first time I saw Shaq. We were playing the Lakers in Chicago, and the whole time I'm warming up, you know, I'm watching him warm up, and I'm trying not to make eye contact with him because he's just such a big person. I'd never seen him before. And I'm just watching this dude warm up. I'm just like, this is crazy. And so I'm laying down on the ground like at half court, getting stretched out by the trainer. I'm looking at him, and every time he looked at me, I like looked away. And then one time I looked at him and made eye contact, and I noticed he was walking in my direction. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, I look again, he's getting closer, and he's right up on me. I'm just like, okay, I gotta make a decision. I just stood up. I reached my hand out to shake his hand, and he just hugs me. He like bear hugs me. And he was like, man, I've been watching your show, man. I feel like I know you. I seen because I had this show that came on in high school. I thought the show only played in Chicago. I had no idea this show was playing around the country. He's like, I used to watch your show preps every day, man. He was like, I would be late to the bus trying to figure out what was going to happen, if your car was going to get fixed, and this and that and this and that. He was like, where are your parents? Where are your parents? And I pointed to my mom. She was standing right there at half court. And he ran over and he was like, Mom, I love you. I love you. He hugged my mom. And he's like, I'm gonna take care of your son. And I promise you, man, he was like, I'm never gonna do anything I'm never gonna do anything to embarrass you. I'm not like, in my whole career, man, every time I played Shaq, he's never tried to dunk on me. He's never tried, one time he accidentally elbowed me. He apologized to me mid game, like, I'm so sorry, man. Like, I didn't even know
Yeah.
that was you. I'm so sorry. Like, he caught the ball and just turned and just went up, and I just took all of it, like all in my neck and everything. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't even mean to do that. And it was just kind of like an unwritten thing. Like, he just would not do any, like, we would be on the side, we would be on the free throw line waiting to go in, and he'll just say, make it look good, you know, act like,
Yeah.
he'll just act like he's fighting for the rebound, but really he's not. He's like,
Yeah.
he's taking it easy. And then I'd come out the game and I would watch what he would do to Brad Miller and watch what he would do to other centers on my team, and it was like, oh my goodness, that's what I'm avoiding. Thank you. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy, man. It was such an incredible time. I think that's one of the most incredible moments for me. I think another moment for me is just having a good game. Like, to have an incredible game in the NBA is crazy. To
Yeah.
to hit a shot and have the crowd react every time because they're with you. They see you rolling, they see you got it going. I'm at the free throw line and they chant MVP in Chicago. Like, I've had that happen several times. I've had it happen in New York. I went on a run in New York where I scored like 20 points in like a bunch of games in a row, and it was like people were coming to the game to see if I was going to get 20 that night. It was crazy. Um, and I think hitting the three, I hit a three to send the game into overtime in Milwaukee. And the whole time, my whole career, I've always like, man, I want to just hit a three. You know, this is before it was
Yeah.
kind of frowned upon for bigs to shoot threes, even though I
Right.
knew I could shoot threes, and my coaches knew I could shoot threes from practice and stuff like that. But I had never done it in the game. And Isaiah Thomas called a play for me to tie the game up for three. And I never forget. I couldn't. And to this day, like, I'm telling you, it was just all God, man. Like, I probably would miss that shot. I probably would miss that shot maybe just from where I shot. I never liked shooting like from the side. I always like shooting from the top or from the elbow. And where I hit that shot from, I probably would miss that shot 8 out of 10 times, man. And I hit it all net over Dan Gadzuric jumping out as hard and as high as he can to contest the shot, and I switched it to send the game into overtime. And it was in Milwaukee. All my family was at the game because Milwaukee and Chicago is really close in proximity, so everyone drove up. Had my dad sitting courtside, my parents all like, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was so, and I was having an incredible game. Like, that was to get, like, I think I ended up scoring like 43 points that game. We won in overtime. Like, incredible feeling. Incredible feeling.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, no doubt that Shaquille O'Neal is absolutely one of a kind. I've actually received one of his legendary hugs in real life too, and there's nothing like getting a hug from him, but it's just like the hidden charity he does, the heart that he has, the kindness that he shares with the world is really unique. He's definitely one of the most special people out there. Israel this summer, spending time in Jerusalem with you and Patrice was like unforgettable for our family. Something we'll always cherish. And when I say Israel, what comes to mind for you from your traveling here this summer?
Peace, man. Honestly, just peace. I have never felt that. I didn't even realize I was walking around with that kind of tension, honestly, because I consider myself to be a really optimistic guy. No matter how dark things are, I've always been that guy that's like, yeah, I know this is happening, but we're here, Patrice. We're breathing. We're alive. We're here. But when I got off that plane, man, when we got to you and got to the hotel, I'm just like, I don't know. Everything just let go. I just
Uh,
remember that feeling of everything just being let go. And I can remember just looking at Patrice, and she had the same feeling. Like I knew it was just we've been together so long. And I know you know how it is with your wife, man. You just kind of connected. You just know. Because I can remember yesterday, man. I had some really good things happen. Even this is a great thing for me to be able to do this. This is a great thing. I look at this as an opportunity to just keep sharing my story, keep talking, and keeping myself out there, and hopefully I can help somebody. And I had something really good happen the other day, and I'm telling Patrice, like, man, I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me, and I'm like, I just don't know how to act. I've been for so long, I've tried to be good. I've tried to do things the right way, and I've been close to things being good for me, and then sometimes they'll just flip the other way. So much so that when something good happens, I start to think like, man, is the rug gonna get pulled from under us? Like, I don't even want to be happy about it. I don't know how to be happy. I don't know how to celebrate. I don't know how to bring positive to my wife because then you find out you find out a few minutes later that it's not going to happen, or it didn't happen, or something else happened, and now I got to look at the pain in her face because she thought we just literally talking about this, and she's crying, and she's like, man, we just got to have faith. And I'm just like, I know, but it was just an incredible moment for me because I realized she knew exactly how I felt. And I think that for me, like, I've been so lucky and so blessed, man, to have those type of people around me, man. Like, I feel like I lived a life early on full of just greed, and not necessarily greed for money, because I was never a money guy. If anything, I was a little too generous. Like, I want everyone to feel how I felt. Going to Jerusalem, I want everyone to feel that feeling. I want my whole family to come. I know, like, as far as like money goes, I probably could not. I probably will never be able to afford to bring my whole family to Jerusalem, but I'll try, and I'll spend my last to try to do that. And that's just always how I've been. And but when it came to women and it came to infidelity, I needed everything. I'd seen a pretty girl. I liked pretty girls. I liked this. Like, I was greedy. And I had to learn that I had everything that I wanted, everything I needed right in front of me. And the more I poured into this person that was right in front of me, the more she poured back, the more she completed me, man. And the more and the better I felt about myself. I felt better as a man. I felt better. I felt good because I was able to just I don't know, man. I just felt like I was doing the right thing. I don't know really how to describe it. I just felt like I was doing the right thing. I felt like that was more aligned with who I was as a person, because I felt like I had it everywhere else, but I just didn't have it there. And I felt like that was the final piece. And once I started living like that, man, I'm telling you, it's been a certain peace and comfort and optimism that I've never had before. And going to Jerusalem really capped that off for me, because I had my wife with me there, and it was how it was supposed to be. And I know we both felt that release at the same time. And since then, man, things have been so beautiful for us. So I thank you for bringing us, man. And I just thank Eric, Eric, everybody that was involved, man. Everybody, Bradley, everyone that was involved, man. Like, it's just beautiful, man. I look forward to coming back. I still talk to some of the guys on WhatsApp, man. I'm just happy, man. And I thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thank you so much, my dear friend. Please send my love to Patrice and the entire family. Everybody in Jerusalem misses you guys as well, and look forward to being in touch. And thank you to everyone who tuned in to listen to us today. Eddie, you were incredible as always, and let's just give a joint blessing to everybody out there that's having a hard time with their mental health. Just everyone should be blessed with only good news. And like Eddie just said, there's nothing like the feeling of overcoming a challenge and and feeling the uniqueness of reaching your own inner potential by overcoming each challenge and realizing the challenges are just opportunities for growth and not something to break us. And uh, I wish everybody only blessings and success. And Eddie, we'll finish with your blessing. Let's give everybody a blessing.
Yeah, man. I just want to second what you said, man. I wish everyone happiness, man, and peace and calm. Like I understand the happiness and peace and calm. It can be attached to a financial thing, but man, I found my most happy moments weren't attached to money. They weren't attached to fame. They weren't attached to this basketball game. It was attached to people around me. It was attached to me appreciating who was around me. It hurts to lose people. I lost a child, man. Like there's no pain like losing a child. But I've got so many good people around me, man. I felt like it would have been selfish of me to start really just dwelling on the few people that God called early. You know, it's so many people still here, and I would be doing myself a disservice, and I would be doing my ancestors that passed a disservice if I didn't try. I'm gonna keep trying to my last breath. I'm gonna keep trying to make a happy aura around me to where anyone that comes into contact with me, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna be happy. You're gonna feel optimism. You're gonna know that it's a brighter day ahead. And I just wish everyone could feel that feeling. And if you're not feeling that feeling, please feel free. Don't hesitate. Reach out to Amudine. This is why we are here. This is why they are here. And I wish you nothing but the best, nothing but health and success. God bless you.
Amazing. Love you. Thank you guys so much.